Be me, 19, living in student dorm. Got a roommate named Jake. Jake is the kind of guy who thinks feminism is a joke. Constantly making comments about women. Thinks he is hilarious. First week of semester, Jake meets our neighbor Clara. Clara studies political science. Immediately starts trying to impress her. Tells her women belong in the kitchen. Says it as a joke. Clara does not laugh. I just sit there eating my cereal, watching this disaster unfold, genuinely curious how this ends. Clara looks at him for a long moment, then just says, "Okay," turns around and leaves. Jake turns to me grinning, says, "See, she liked it?" I nod slowly. Internally, I'm not so sure. Next day, Jake asks me to knock on her door. Needs to borrow something. Too nervous to go himself, apparently. I knock. Clara opens. She seems fine. I ask for the thing. She hands it over. Then looks past me at Jake in the hallway, asks if he always talks like that. I say unfortunately yes. She nods. Closes her door. Jake thinks it went great, says she is definitely interested. I tell him I am not sure that is the correct read. He waves me off. Week 2, Jake keeps finding excuses to be near Clara. She is always polite, never rude, just very calm. One afternoon, we are all in the common kitchen. Jake makes another comment. Something about how she must be a bad cook since she is always studying instead of cooking. Laughs at his own joke. Clara puts down her fork very deliberately, looks at him. Says that cooking is a skill, not a gender trait. Says her father cooks every meal in her family. Says her mother is a surgeon. Jake opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. Says he was just joking. Clara says she knows, says that is exactly the problem. Goes back to eating. Completely unbothered. Jake is visibly rattled, pretends to check his phone. Leaves the kitchen without finishing his food. I stay and eat quietly. Clara glances at me, asks if Jake is always like this. I say he means well but does not think much. She says meaning well and doing harm are not mutually exclusive. I chew on that for a while. Week 3. Jake decides he needs to change tactics. Comes to me for advice. I'm apparently an expert now. Asks what women want. I say I'm not a representative of all women. He stares at me like I said something in a foreign language. I try to explain, say maybe just treat her like a person. Not a category, he thinks about this. Genuinely seems to be processing it. Then says, but what do I say to her? I say talk about things she cares about. He says he does not know anything about political science. I say then ask her. Revolutionary concept apparently. He tries it, actually asks Clara about her studies. She lights up a little, starts explaining her thesis on labor rights. Jake is clearly lost, but he is nodding, actually trying. Small progress. Week 4, Jake makes a new mistake. Different flavor this time. Progress is not linear apparently. We are at a small gathering in the common room. Few people from the floor. Clara is there with her friend Nia. Topic of careers comes up. Jake says something about how some jobs are just better suited for men. Physically demanding ones. Nia raises an eyebrow. Says she wants to be a firefighter. Jake laughs. Says that must be tough for her. Nia says she has been training for 2 years. Can do more pull-ups than most guys on the floor. Stares at Jake very directly. Asks if he wants to test that claim. Jake laughs nervously, says he was just saying statistically. Nia says statistics describe populations, not individuals. Says judging an individual by group averages is just bias with extra steps. Room goes quiet for a second. Someone coughs. Jake looks at me. I look at the ceiling. Clara is watching the whole thing. Not jumping in, just watching. Like she is taking notes. Later, Jake tells me Nia was being aggressive. I ask what he would call it if a man had defended himself the same way. He says confident. I let that sit in the air between us. He gets it. Eventually, you can see it hit him, does not say anything. Just goes to his room. Week 5. Something shifts slightly in Jake. Still makes comments sometimes, but catches himself more often. One afternoon, he accidentally says something dismissive about a female professor, calling her overly sensitive. Then pauses. Looks at me, says, wait, would I say that about a male professor? I say probably not. He nods slowly. Says that is weird, right? I say, yes, that is kind of the whole thing. He does not say anything else. But he looks like he is genuinely thinking. Week 6, Jake does something unexpected. Shows up to a study session Clara organizes on feminist theory of all things. I only know because I see him leaving with the reading material. Photocopied pages and everything, stuffed under his arm. I do not say anything. He does not explain. We just nod at each other. Week 7, group project in one of my shared classes. Includes a girl named Priya. She is sharp, fast, thorough. Our project manager, this guy Marcus, keeps talking over her, not maliciously, just habitually. Keeps summarizing her points right after she makes them, as if she had not spoken clearly enough. I notice Priya's jaw tightening. She keeps going. Keeps contributing. After the session, she vents to me briefly. Says it happens constantly. Says people hear her ideas better when a guy repeats them. I do not know what to say, so I just say that sounds exhausting. She says yes, then collects her things and leaves. I think about that for a long time afterward, not because it is complicated, but because it is so ordinary. Week 8, Jake and Clara are actually talking now, like real conversations, not Jake performing at her. Actual back and forth. I overhear fragments, something about unpaid domestic labor, something about his mother working 2 jobs. Jake says he never thought about it that way. Clara says most people do not until someone points it out. Jake says that seems unfair. Clara says yes. Says that is sort of the point. I make tea and pretend not to listen. Week 9, a guest speaker comes to campus. Invited by the Women's Studies Department. Talks about gender and economics. Jake shows up in the back row, hood up like he is undercover. I sit next to him. He shrugs at me, says Clara mentioned it. Speaker talks about the wage gap. Jake leans over and whispers he thought that was debunked. I whisper back that it is more complicated than that. He looks annoyed, then curious, then just listens. After the talk, Jake is quiet, walking back across campus. Says he did not realize how many of his assumptions were just things he absorbed, never really questioned. I say that is true for most people. He asks if it is true for me too. I say definitely yes. We walk in silence for a bit, not awkward silence, the thinking kind. Week 10, exam season hits, everyone is stressed. Social stuff slows down. One night I'm in the common kitchen late. Clara is there too. Both of us stress eating instant noodles. She asks how Jake is doing. I say he is different than he was in week 1. She says she noticed, says she was not trying to change him, was just not willing to pretend his comments were okay. I ask if that is exhausting too, always having to respond. Always being the one to say something. She thinks for a second, says sometimes. Says, but if she does not say anything it just keeps going. And then she becomes part of the silence. I think that is one of the more honest things anyone has said to me all semester, week 11. Jake does something that genuinely surprises me. A guy down the hall, Darnell, makes a joke, crude one, about women only getting jobs because of diversity quotas, group of guys laughing. Typical hall banter. Jake does not laugh. Says actually that narrative is used to dismiss qualified people. Says he read something about it. Says it is more complicated than the joke implies. Darnell says relax, it was just a joke. Jake says sure, but the joke assumes something false. It gets mildly tense for a moment, then moves on. Hall banter continues, different topic, but I saw it, small thing, but real. Week 12, end of semester approaching. The floor does a small gathering, low-key. Someone brings snacks. Jake and Clara are in the same corner, actually laughing about something, not performing. Just 2 people talking. Nia is there too. Jake tells her he looked up the firefighter training requirements, says it sounds brutal. She says it is. He says good luck with full sincerity. She says thanks and means it. I watch all of this from across the room, holding a paper cup of something warm, thinking about the first week, and how much has changed, and how little has changed at the same time. Jake is better than he was, and that is real. But he had to be dragged there slowly, by women who had no obligation to teach him anything. Clara did not owe him patience. Nia did not owe him a debate. Priya did not owe Marcus her repeated attempts to be heard. They did it anyway, some of them deliberately, some just by existing and refusing to disappear, last week of semester. Jake and I are packing up. He finds one of those photocopied pages from Clara's study session, stuffed in a textbook. He reads a bit of it, then sets it aside, says he still does not agree with everything. I say that is fine. Say understanding something is different from agreeing with all of it. He nods. Says he thinks he was mostly just never asked to think about it before. Says that is a weird thing to realize. I say, yeah. Say it is a pretty common thing to realize, though. Say better late than never. He laughs a little. Says he is going to be more careful with his jokes. I say good. I say jokes are just a way of saying what you actually think while having an escape route. He stares at me, says that is a dark way to put it. I say maybe. Say think about whether it is wrong, though. He does not answer right away. We finish packing, moving out day. Clara is in the hallway with boxes. Jake helps her carry one to the elevator without being asked. She says thanks. He says of course. Small thing, completely ordinary. But it was not ordinary for him 8 weeks ago. I take one last look at the floor. Think about everything that happened here. None of it was dramatic. No big speeches, no movie moments. Just people slowly being forced to see each other, walk out, drive home. Still thinking, be me, 19. Slightly less certain about everything than when the year started. Which I think means it was a good year,